You're like me, a Gen X. Your talent has always been recognized and promoted, and all your most gifted students understand the world just like you. Blessed with the superiority of your ergonomic intellect, and your mind grasps the utmost importance of, in one explanatory leaflet, compressed knowledge that everybody got in the first lecture. Your colleagues wasted not only time with reading books reflecting on patterns that might connect some squinty knowledge points, but by doing so they disrespected the fundamental academic tradition. Thou shalt owe all your professors. And this ergonomic intellect of yours reduced those vain, time-consuming studies every day. So you got, besides your instant powder knowledge, time to socialize, letting everybody know what a nice, easygoing guy you are that they should recommend, because your unquestioning loyalty to your teacher showed that passionate gratitude is your strongest trait. Everybody can count on, no matter what. Realizing the ergonomics of education acquisition and the overwhelming positive social feedback made you not only highly motivated and equipped with the highest quality of educational plasma, but it also made you a very cheerful and well-rested nature, a free spirit, open to everything, a flexible matter of mind waiting to get molded. Just like any other top talent in your career, you had known exactly when and what the highest only valid thought in the universe was and is. Proof is that everyone successful agrees with you word by word, or he is a fascist. So, how did the generation of my teachers, called boomers, choose the stars of the academic present, and why? My teachers already changed the world in the 60s by protesting against the military support of South Vietnam, fighting the Red Khmer, because Pol Pot was considered an eco-farmer eating lots of ling, therefore the killing fields. A logic that works fantastic under LSD. LSD and ayahuasca added to the academic studies additional layers of floating, alternative, even inequalities and facts. Nothing is written in stone if you're stoned. Boomers came closer with nature by talking with flowers, making love instead of war. People just want sex, drugs, and tribal dancing. Driving stoned and mostly painted Volkswagen-Transporter Einzelner mit Hochdach, aka hippie van, for years since that attending class wasn't the MLK's idea of having a dream, but those specimen didn't piss their superiors off because they hadn't seen each other. And those hippies became the teachers of my generation, university professors that taught us Gen X students that time at the university is the best time of life, as far as they still remember in the LSD form. To uphold their reputation and status of honorable academic eminence, they needed people hanging on their lips unquestioning. Otherwise, the answer or lack of would be an embarrassment and undermine the academic institutional hierarchy. It is instantly soothing the narcissistic ego to get unreflected admiration instead of waiting to get confirmation of your work through the success of your pupils later in their life, because that is later. So either pupils too slow to realize a knowledge gap, or opportunists too psychopathic to suffer from pretending admiration became star students. If you now think, can't be, otherwise there would be today in finance, besides imbeciles, only 40-point PCL plus R candidates that have no problem to let continents fall into ruin due to financial crises if they get a big share of the profit. Or, for that same matter, in key positions of power besides morons, you would have only psychos that even leave continents sink into terror and civil war to become the so-good good doers. The famous media tells us that nothing happened of such kind. You just need to think. All you need is love. Just walk with me in the shoes of a former Woodstock veteran, shall we? He becomes an economics professor in the 1990s. You have the choice to accept as a new student either Thomas Sowell or O.J. Simpson, because the lower SAT hurdle broadens your choice. Otherwise, you had to choose Sowell. If you get young Thomas Sowell, he'll question everything and wants to know and to understand how, who did, what, and when, and he'll ask and ask and ask, do you want this student? When, thanks to affirmative action, also O.J. Simpson can be accepted. And O.J. is a former bank robber, but facing difficulties, instead of squinting, he does not put on gloves, which set him free in a murder trial. He will be able to jump high and look beautiful. Affirmative action opens to professors the possibility to choose from a defined group only those pupils the professor will enjoy. Asian kids spoiled by education from childhood only make you look bad. So another reason to embrace affirmative action. If you pick right, no one comes up with naughty questions, and those ergonomic minds will accept, even positively be surprised that their hippie hero visionaries are the best as far as they can grasp it. There are some variations in the Western world you'll enjoy to learn about. In Germany, we had Gastarbeiter, guest worker, that should disappear in old age. But we also got Gaststudenten that should be later on elsewhere. Normally that mean people that came already educated, hoping to profit from the Deutsche Tüchtigkeit they heard of. As you know, many very smart people came from Germany, like Albert Einstein, Lise Meitner, Thomas Mann, Olga Tauski-Todd, Otto Stern, Else Lasker-Schüler, or Erich Korngold. So there must be knowledge in Germany. Well, there was, until it got driven out when the nation switched 16 cultural interlocked identities for one only, proposed by an illegal migrant that became Führer but didn't yet call this principle multicultural. Back to the millennium, fully educated guest students were the perfect moral support for dummy teachers. If they do not do anything and leave those students be, they'll have competent pupils pass their exam. When those came back to their countries, they were still as good as when they escaped the same archetype of professor at home, only this time their unchanged abilities were a result of German education and they were allowed to be recognized. Zum Wohlsein, Prost, na zdrowie. It was a short scandal to propose elite Schulen for kids considered to be highly gifted in the end of the 80s in Western Germany. Mainstream complaint was that this would create an arrogant elitistic upper class of students getting more chances as their average only because of being smart, a new elite, meanwhile concealing that always in any society at any time in history, including the 80s in Germany, an elite already existed. An elite horrified by the thought that diligence, intelligence, and passionate interest would become the benchmark of membership in their goals. That would be racism towards stupid. So in Germany, we had supported imbeciles as imbeciles mistaken psychopaths and direct after-exam exportable guest students. When the educational system was unified from Staatsexamen to Bachelor-Master, every diploma was suddenly downgraded. Abitur, high school with incorporated undergraduate studies, plus 5 to 6 years university, didn't put you in the middle of a doctorate program like the States. It was first down to master and then again downgraded to bachelor. Anything above the second Staatsexamen, like 2 years Aufbaustudium plus 2 years Meisterklasse, was, well, what? In France, we've developed the regional intelligence and academic independence of intelligence. What is regional intelligence? To find the best, you ask your friend if he could recommend someone. Let's call your friend Gaston, and Gaston is the expert in something. Gaston will now ask around, ideally everybody he meets, which must somehow cross his way. In best case scenario, before mobilization, he recommends the most suitable candidate among everybody he talked to.
Everybody not living or walking in his path won't meet him, and in common have those filtered for incompetence with those not meeting Gaston at all that they aren't recommended by the expert Gaston. Soon we realized that in certain areas where Gaston never was, nobody was recommended, and the conclusion in France is that in those areas are no talented people at all. Therefore, in schools in those regions Gaston never walked through, pupils are from the beginning taught how to be a good waste management employee in school. Because in France we were sure that there can't be intelligence coming from those regions, as Gaston never recommended anyone there. Or do you want someone who nobody recommends as your neurosurgeon, better the party acquaintance of Gaston? Instead of debunking the idiocy of this medieval guild system, we concluded that the reason of inconsistencies must be that Gaston is racist, as newcomers couldn't build their housings under or over Gaston's house and didn't live together with Gaston and never met Gaston. Better it was a personal shortcoming. Otherwise, you had to change and introduce over school knowledge of science, history, and from history resulting values everywhere that would lead to many people working, thinking, creating, eventually trumping the elite and friends from France. Better passive feeding, as nobody would ever explore, not explode, this vacuum of unused potential. What a racist idea. But if it's Gaston's bigotry, we got back to affirmative action.
Academic independence of intelligence. In France results from the fact that the best come from the best university in France, whose professors are the best because the professors have also learned at the best university in France. And academic knowledge has never been contaminated from the outside since the baguette has been invented. An awesome author Oliver called it academic incest. Well, and that's now the top of society of today in medicine, science and culture. Doctors do not need to read MRI or EEG or ask questions. They are much more efficient because they are very specialized, so much that all their life and cured patients had the same disease. The example in culture, let's take music as for one. Composers whose finest calibration of emotions is highly abstract, sophisticated, complex, even emotionless. In all the fine arts, incomprehensibility is the apotheosis of difficult to understand. Or even better in music, the profound goodies are so deep buried in tiniest gaps of an overly accessible music that you can't find them. In both cases, it must be awesome, otherwise someone would get it. Therefore, now everything can enrich this culture. It's so open, hiding its profoundness in front of your eyes. Scientifically, we learned that we are all going to be deep fried, except we no longer burn toxic waste in the Western world, but somewhere else. In developing countries that are now allowed to develop higher levels of pollution, not technique. 97% of 200 leaflets analyzed by cartoonist John Cook agree on climate change, and convincingly easy as this narrative is the opposition reaction, let's pollute. It's more complicated, and another video about that. Now, with mainstream genius being mainstream, as we said, we are talking to the global village of the academy. The most appreciated Gen X must have something special that ain't reading, something only he or she has. Sure, or Z's personal worldview. And indeed, most talented millennials of the most renowned professors of my generation even have the same opinion as their teacher or bad grades, which then proves the lack of talent. 20 years ago in Europe, the names Harvard, Yale, Berkeley were a synonym for highest education. Today, it's synonym for deluded indoctrination. Still, the new students are starting to think again. Instead of using computers as a brain prosthesis, people use it as a brain enhancement. Despite all warnings that lies in ink are more trustworthy than lies in HTML, people get access to knowledge and compare millions of statements filtering rubbish by using this terrible thing, critical thinking. That's why the internet censorship of knowledge becomes necessary. Think different, just not too much. What would happen if ability was the criteria of employment instead of the degree on a diploma sanctioned by the oligarchy of stupid, where second-class minds recommends third and third recommends fourth? Well, one intelligent guy on the job could create a success from which a thousand imbeciles could profit by making more money in a job that didn't exist otherwise, compared to leading positions in something obsolete. In order to support smart, you don't have to push down anyone. It's enough to support the smart guy, or at least don't be in his way. If there isn't enough money in the world for everyone, but money represents something, creating something more creates more existing money, and you get my drift. But even if nothing changes, still people can learn for themselves, getting off by helping each other, using new abilities. Thinking is fun, and if it only happens shunned from establishment, it nevertheless is advancing us. Sadly slower, but still